Hi, my name is Greg and I work at your police department. I serve as the deputy chief. And today, I'm really glad you joined me. I wanted to read you some stories from this great book. This is called There's a Carrot in My Ear and Other Noodle Tales. So what's a noodle? That's a very good question. Maybe we better find out. A noodle is a very silly person. And this book is about a whole family of noodles and the silly things that they say and do. So I'm going to show you these pictures. The noodles are Mr. and Mrs. Brown. And then there's Sam and Jane and Grandpa Noodle. Well, I wonder what those noodles are going to do in this very first story. It looks like the Browns are going to take the day off. It was a hot day, and so Mr. Brown took his family to the swimming pool. And when you go to the swimming pool, you got to take lots of stuff. The most important thing, snacks. Make sure you take snacks to the swimming pool. So Sam and Jane, they jumped right in. They raced all the way to the other end of the pool, and then they raced back. Grandpa jumped in. Then he jumped up and down. And each time he came down, he called out, "Brr!" Well, that doesn't make sense. There's a very bright sun. I wonder why Grandpa was cold. Mr. Brown bounced up and down on the diving board, and Mrs. Brown sat in the sun and turned bright red. You might turn bright red if you were in the sun all day like she was. "It is a very nice day here," said Jane. "It'll be even nicer on Tuesday," said the man with the broom. "Why?" asked Sam. "Why?" asked Grandpa. "Why?" asked Mr. Brown. And "Why?" asked Mrs. Brown. "On Tuesday," said the man with the broom, "there will be water in the pool." That is a very silly noodle who would go swimming with no water. So let's read the next story. This one is about Sam and Jane, and they're going camping. Have you ever been camping? It's a lot of fun. Sam and Jane were camping out, and when it got dark, they made a big fire and they told stories. You absolutely have to tell stories when you go camping. It's just part of the fun. "This is a story about Bill, the ghost dog," said Jane. "It is a very scary story." "Well, I hope so," said Sam. "Once upon a time," said Jane, "there was a big white dog named Bill. Bill had a very mean owner. He wouldn't feed Bill or pet him or anything. Then one night what? Something happened. Lots of things can happen in the woods. We better find out. Suddenly Jane stopped. She heard a strange sound. Hmm. It was getting louder and louder. "Ouch!" cried Sam. "Something bit me." "Ouch!" yelled Jane. "Something bit me too." There are lots of things in the woods that could bite you. We better figure out what this is. "It's a bunch of mosquitoes," yelled Sam. They jumped up and down and they ran around. And they waved their arms, but the mosquitoes would not go away. "Let's put out the fire," whispered Sam. "They'll never find us in the dark." And they're running. Can you outrun a mosquito? I don't know if I can. They put out the fire and they sat down on a rock. A mosquito flew by and then it disappeared. It was as quiet as a graveyard. "They're gone," whispered Jane. "I think so," whispered Sam. And their campground looks very peaceful now. Then some fireflies flew by. "Oh no," Sam groaned. "They're back. And now they're looking for us with flashlights." I don't think mosquitoes have flashlights. That was a very silly story. I think these noodles are kind of weird. Let's hear a third story maybe. This one is about Mr. Brown washing his underwear. Your parents probably wash your underwear. That could be a good thing. On Saturday, Mr. Brown washed his dirty clothes. He washed his socks, his shirts, and his underwear in a big tub. Then he hung them up to dry in the backyard. He hung the underwear in an apple tree. And I don't want any of those apples. When the wind blew, the underwear waved its arms and it kicked its legs. It looked like a dancing ghost. You have to reach way high in that apple tree to get it off the ground. After supper that night, Mrs. Brown looked out the window. "There is a man in the apple tree," she told Mr. Brown. "Don't worry, I'll scare him away." Mr. Brown went into the yard and he called out, "Who are you? What do you want?" But nobody answered him. He had a broom with him, probably to defend himself. He called out again, "Who are you and what do you want?" But again, nobody answered. Mr. Brown got angry. "You are very rude not to answer me," he shouted. But there was still no answer. And it's very dark out there. I bet you that was kind of scary. So Mr. Brown picked up a ripe tomato and he threw it at the man in the tree. And then he threw another and another and another. "That will show you," he shouted. That looks like a big mess over there. I wonder what's in that tree. The next morning, he went outside to get his clothes. And when he got to the apple tree, he was very surprised. His underwear was covered with squashed tomatoes, and it was dripping with tomato juice. "I am really lucky I wasn't wearing that underwear," Mr. Brown said to himself. I bet. Well, that is the end of our third story. There's a lot of other stories to read, but maybe we could read them a different day. So I want to thank you guys for spending some time with me. I hope you have a great time at home with your family. We'll talk to you later. Bye.